Irving. Big fat Irving. Big sport Irving. The 142nd fastest gun in the West.
Bioshock Rapture? You may be asking yourself if you're a fan of the series, oh no, did I miss a game? What happened? When did they come out? I don't know. It's okay. You didn't miss a game. This isn't a game. Bioshock Rapture is a book. Now, if you're a true child of the gaming age, you're asking yourself,
Which?
I discovered it by accident one day at a local public library.
Which?
And when I saw it was published under the auspices of 2K, the same people responsible for the games, I knew I had to check it out. One thing I have to admit, and you probably do too, the games don't give us much backstory about Rapture at all. We know Andrew Ryan built the city, filled it with a select population, and then somebody discovered Adam and plasmids and the place went straight to hell. This book fleshes out that backstory. It gives us Ryan's own history, where he came from, how he made his money, and why he built a city under the sea. It also explains why he populated it with whack jobs like Sandra Cohen, Dr. Sue Chong, Sophia Lamb, Frank Fontaine, and all the other players whose names we know from the games. It explains how Adam was discovered, why Little Sisters and Big Daddies were created, and why Dr. Tenenbaum went from a soulless researcher who helped create the Little Sisters to the children's fiercest advocate.
You have saved many of my little ones. I owe you a debt.
Since it was a book based on a video game series, I wasn't expecting much, but I was pleasantly surprised. It's actually very well written. While we see the rise and fall of Rapture from several points of view, including that of Ryan himself, the main character is his right-hand man, Bill McDonough. Ryan latched on to Bill early on, elevating him from menial jobs to a position as head engineer in charge of building and maintaining Rapture. Throughout the book, Bill reflects on the fact that he owes everything to Ryan. Once the city is built, Bill moves into it with his wife Elaine and his daughter Sophie. While he knows he and his wife will miss the sun up on the surface, they expect a much better life down here where there's no oppression, where anyone can make it if they work hard enough. Unfortunately, almost from the very start, things aren't quite that idyllic. Building and developing businesses in Rapture takes a lot more people than Ryan anticipated. And before he knows it, at least 2 large sections of the city have basically become slums. The workers, lured down here by the promise of a free hand to develop their own wealth, begin to grumble. Ryan is opposed to anything at all that smacks of a handout. If someone can't pay rent in their rinky-dink little apartment, they're just not working hard enough. The problem, Bill comes to realize, is the same as it is on the surface: human greed. The fat cats who employ the workers aren't bound by any kind of minimum wage, so if they decide to pay their workers in used chamber pots, they can get away with it. Bill tries to reason with Ryan, but Ryan is having none of it. When the workers start talking union, Ryan hires his own police force and sends them in to put down the seditious talk, by any means necessary. Bill tells Ryan that this squelching of free speech is the exact opposite of what Rapture is supposed to be about, but Ryan always has some convenient excuse. Enter Frank Fontaine. We already know that isn't his real name. When he revealed himself in the first game, he told us he's gone by many names, and it really doesn't matter what name he was born with. He stole the name Frank Fontaine from a boat captain who was ferrying food and supplies out to a certain area of the North Atlantic while Rapture was being built. Being a natural-born con man, Fontaine did some poking around and discovered what Ryan was up to. He knew he was looking at the ultimate scam, so he wormed his way into Rapture by proposing to set up an underwater fishing business using submarines.
He takes me deep sea fishing in a submarine.
Ryan wants as little contact with the surface as possible, which means fish is going to be the staple food in Rapture. He goes for it and Fontaine Fisheries is established. But Fontaine knows what people want and almost immediately starts smuggling liquor, tobacco, religious books, and anything else he can sell into Rapture, and is making a buttload of money doing it. Ryan knows there's smuggling going on and suspects Fontaine but can't prove it. Then one day, a partially paralyzed worker is bitten by an odd-looking sea slug. Within hours, he can walk again. Tenenbaum analyzes the slug in the worker's blood and discovers the mysterious substance known as Adam, as well as the other substance known as Eve that activates the atom in a person's bloodstream. Working in tandem with Suchong, she begins doing genetic research based on the stem cell-like properties of Adam, and before they know it, they've developed injections that can give people amazing abilities. Ryan is less than impressed. He's more interested in promoting his total free market ideal. Fontaine steps in and offers to fund Tenenbaum's and Suchong's research as long as they're loyal to him and not Ryan, and as long as all discoveries belong to him for marketing. Plasmids start to hit the market, and Fontaine Futuristics begins to take shape. Meanwhile, Ryan has brought Dr. Sophia Lamb to Rapture, where, ostensibly, she can do psychological research unhindered by the petty morality of the service. But, like Fontaine, Dr. Lamb has different ideas. She looks around Rapture and sees an ideal setting for a pure socialist experiment. None of us lives unto themselves, we are all part of each other. Of course, this is just the opposite of Ryan's view, which extols the virtue of selfishness. Almost as quickly as she starts preaching her new ideas, Ryan has Lamb arrested and imprisoned. Trouble is, the ranks of the prison population are swelling as more and more workers are speaking out against oppression or turning to crime in order to feed their families. Take a natural-born leader like Lamb, put her in the midst of several hundred disaffected workers like these, and see what happens. Before long, she's running the prison from the inside. As I said, we see all this happen from several points of view, but we keep coming back to Bill. All he cares about ultimately is his wife and daughter. They've taken in a displaced couple, Sam and Mariska, with their little daughter Misha. Since Misha and Sophie are close to the same age, they become playmates. One day as they're playing, Misha is snatched away by a large man. Searching is fruitless. The next time they see Misha, she's a little sister. Sam and Mariska commit suicide, and that's the beginning of the end for Bill McDonough in the city of Rapture. Even though I knew what the ultimate outcome was going to be, the writing is good enough that it kept me turning pages right up to the very end. As splicers multiply, Ryan becomes more and more of a tyrant, Atlas arises as a figure to challenge him, and as arrests and executions abound in Ryan's little utopia, we see Bill trying to figure out how to get his family out of Rapture for good. Whether or not he can do it will have you on the edge of your seat. Since the book is dated 2011, obviously it came out well after the first two games. That could be bad because we've already seen Rapture at its lowest point. If the book were just to take stuff we already know and give it a new coat of paint, it wouldn't be worth bothering with. But in the end, the fact that it came out after the games is good because we already know the players. When we see their names, a chord resounds inside our head and we make the connection with the game. We see their backstories, we see behind-the-scenes activities that motivate many of them to do the things they're doing by the time the first game rolls around. It's not easy to write a book this way and do a good job of it, but this author has done just that. If you're a fan of the games, you'll enjoy the book, and it explains a lot of things, including how and why Fontaine developed and conditioned the character you play as in the first game. It's subtle and you really need to be watching for it, but it's there. I can't say enough good things about the writing. It's tight, the characters are well developed, the descriptions enable you to visualize the city even if you haven't played the games, and the explanations of things like how Adam works and why little girls are required to gather it are believable. You might remember how I said the only way to find out if Bioshock 3 will answer some of my questions is to wait. Well, this is a great way to fill the waiting time. Tor is a major publisher, the price is reasonable, and the book is worth it. If your local bookstore doesn't have it, tell them to get it. Then tell your friends about it. I'm Irving, and I have no life, just like you.
He takes me deep sea fishing in a submarine. We go to drive-in movies in a limousine. He's got a whirly birdie and a 12-foot yacht. Ah, but that's not all he's got. He's got tan shoes with pink shoelaces, a polka dot vest, and man, oh man,